Anybody else? Yes, sir.
And I saw in the Plain Dealer about a week or two ago where it said the Democrats are going to make abortion a primary issue in Ohio during the governor's election. Any comments on that?
Yeah, Planned Parenthood came out this week, and they said, well, what can you give someone for Valentine's Day? Did you see this? You want roses and cards and postcards to go to the representatives. They actually said that what the gift that every woman wants for Valentine's Day is an abortion. I mean, it just tells you how twisted this is. I remember. I would tell you a quick story because there's nothing says it like this. I remember I was on hardball one day. This was actually 10 years ago. It was the 30th anniversary. Now I'm 41. At the 30th anniversary of Roe versus Wade. I was on hardball and I was debating Planned Parenthood and debating now. And I was on that show, and they mentioned that NARA was having their 30th anniversary dinner, and they were going to celebrate death. And I just believe God orders our steps. So the fact that I'm in D.C., and they're having their event, seems like I should go. So it was funny because I'll tell you a quick story. I got, you get all dressed up to get on TV and they do your makeup and everything. So what I did, I washed up all my makeup, I straightened out my hair, I put on glasses, the ugliest clothes I had, and I went to a friend and I said, is there anything I could do to look worse? And her answer was, no, you're good. So I went to, I got a buddy, I said, find the worst picture of me online, it's not hard to do, and we're going to turn it into press credentials. And we actually went into the NARL dinner with my camera, and we took pictures. But here's what I'll never forget. Kate Michaelman, who was president at the time of National Abortion Rights Action League, with all the Democrat candidates all bowing down to Roe versus Wade, they were all on stage, and she said this. This is what she said. She said, "We need abortion for our daughters and our granddaughters." I just sat there and looked. So your greatest goal, your charge that you want to get behind, is so that your daughters can kill your grandchildren. Give me a banner to march to that. That's what the Democrats are now doing. They're embracing. In fact, it used to be. Maybe Matt, before you were in certainly before you were in the State House, there used to be some Democrats who were pro-life. Actually, enough to do something about it. A couple are pro-life in word only, but what I'm seeing is the Democrats are running to evil, and the Republicans are running in the same direction. That's why the line is. There's really not much difference, and that's why the Tea Party movement, we need to be recruiting people. We need to be getting them active because, again, as Pastor Sanders said, that the point of this is that, as Reagan said, freedom is not inherited. We didn't get it handed down to us. It's something we've got to fight for. The price of it is eternal vigilance, as our founders said. Yes, Ken. Hey there.
I was wondering, Mr. Porter, if is there any state in our country that even looks like it's close to where they would stand up and say, we took an oath to the Constitution, and we know that the federal government doesn't have any jurisdiction in our state to tell us that we can't teach our children what's right in the schools, or have prayer in our schools, or that we have to allow the killing of little children. Is there any state that's...
Well, one hero of the movement is somebody who deserved the honor more than anybody in the last General Assembly. This guy by the name of Senator Jason Raper. You heard him, Pastor. This is a guy that passed the nation's first heartbeat law in Arkansas. What he had to do to get it, you wouldn't believe. He had to run against this woman who had blocked 10 pro-life bills in the committee. She then ran against it in the Senate. He had to beat her. Then, once they passed it in the Senate, the speaker was much like our speaker, Bill Batchelder, blocking the bill. In fact, they sent it back to committee 5 times. They then took a group of senators over and said, if you want anything to pass in this Senate, you had better give a fair hearing to the heartbeat bill. So finally they got a fair hearing. And finally they got the vote. And then the governor of Arkansas vetoed the bill. They then had to override the governor's veto, and they did it. And they became that first state. So I believe what happens is leadership is contagious. And what happened, remember the story of Jonathan? Where he and his armor bearer are taking on the Philistines, and he says, "Hey, let's go up, let's climb up this mountain. And if the Lord's with us, we'll just see if they bid us to come forward. Say, come on up." And so they did. They said, "Come on up." And so there's 2 guys, Jonathan and his armor bearer. Meanwhile, you've got all these Israelites who were afraid, and they hid in caves. Meanwhile, you've got all these Israelites who actually joined the enemy camp. They were dressing in the uniform of the Philistines. They were speaking the Philistine language. They were probably, at least going through the motions of worshiping the Philistine gods. And what happens when one guy says, I'm going to exhibit courage, when that one guy exhibits courage, what happened was they actually won that victory, slayed their enemies, and what happened, you would expect there'd be some people that are pretty excited about that give some courage to the troops, but it did more than that. It brought the people out of hiding, out of the caves. They came, and they ran to the front lines. And then the people who were wearing the Philistine army, saying, what am I doing? I'm on the wrong, what am I fighting for the wrong side? They shed their armor, and the courage was so contagious. They came out of hiding, they came out of the enemy's camp, and they then were victorious because of one guy's courage. And I believe, honestly, I believe that one man's courage, like the courage of Matt Lynch, is going to become so contagious. It's going to remind these people, like I tried to remind Ron Amstutz at a meeting not too long ago, and I said to him, remember, you were one of the people who helped pass the discharge petition. His answer to me was, well, I don't really do too many kamikaze missions anymore. I said, really? I said, because that one won. And not only did we see the nation's first ban on partial birth abortion, it led to not only it passed in Congress 3 times, not only did we see 30 states follow, but we saw not one, but 2 Supreme Court rulings, and one, with the last one, of course, was victorious. So that kamikaze, seemingly impossible mission proved to change the course of history, to change the opinion of the country. And I remember telling Mrs. Wilkie, I said, I'm not sure how many lives that saved. I'm not so sure how good that was. She goes, Janet, it shifted the court. It shifted. In fact, every independent poll showed that we did that last time around, Matt. It actually gave us between 8 and 10 points in the opinion polls because they saw a glimpse of the brutality of abortion, and America didn't like what they saw. And so what happened was the courage then was dispelled to Congress, and it went around the country, and that's what I believe is going to happen again. When Ohio does it, you've heard it said, we're the swing state. As Ohio goes, so goes the nation. When this happens in Ohio, we're going to see other states come out and get this done as well.
We were working on that bill. They kept telling us that, they're going to challenge it. They're going to they challenged everything we ever did. Of course. And it didn't stop us. We kept working on it. We kept working on it. We spent a lot of hours, but we got it. We got it introduced, and we passed finally. And it's an interesting thing too, because what she was saying about that senator, I had him on the radio program from Arkansas. He, one of his children or someone was driving through Ohio, heard you on my radio program, or was driving up here, listened to what we were saying, took that home. That's how that whole thing got done.
That's great.
And it was another interesting thing when we had that the big rally in Columbus. On one side of the building, in the sunlight, were the pro-lifers. We were out there. You probably had 1,000 people or more out there. And I walked around after we were finished speaking. I walked around, and the pro-death side were having theirs in the shade. It was in the shadows, and they had a handful of people. And Capri Cafaro was there, and she had these feminists, whether these young girls, and they had metal all through their faces, hanging out their nose. Just as I walked around that corner, she says, "We will win because we deserve to win." Just when I got in front of her, I said, "You will get hellfire because that's what you deserve, hellfire." And you ought to see the look on their faces. Well, the next thing I know, I got 2 state highway patrols. And they were laughing. They said, "You're right on, but you better move down here. You scared them too much." Anyhow, we're going to take about a 15-minute break right now. And dinner is going to be served. We already asked a blessing. So just grab yourself a plate, something to eat. And when we come back, we have that fellow right there. President of Lake County Right to Life, Denver Sally. And folks, you've gone by and you've seen the different churches with all those crosses out, 140 important crosses out there. That fella gets out there in the snow wherever. Amen. And when they come and they destroy them and they attack them, guess what? He just puts up more. And so we got Denver Sally will be back. He's going to be our next speaker in about 15 minutes. If there's anybody in here that has, by any chance, an extension cord in their car or their truck, any kind of an extension cord, we don't need it now because we just found them. So Go ahead, grab something to eat, we'll be back in about 15 minutes.